This video will be a little bit different than most of my videos, and that is me explaining why I'm not all too much into tools. So, compared to Hollow Knight, tools are actually a very big part of this game, because tools pretty much replaces our charms. From Hollow Knight, we do have different abilities. We had that in Hollow Knight 1 as well. We still kind of have our charms, like our compass and all of your things. Although it's not entirely the same, we still maintain that as well. But the new big addition to Silksong is our different tools. And right off the bat, I'm gonna say, it's not that I don't use tools, it's not that I completely write them off. I totally don't. I obviously don't have all tools. There are tools that I like, there are tools that I don't like, but for the most part, I don't really use them. And the reason why that is, I will get into today. So, the very first big thing that I have with tools is pretty much they're very limited. Like, they all have different uses, like 21, 17, 10, 7, 14. And like most of the times the fewer users they have, the better they are. Like the tax, the wheel and the cockflies are definitely my most favorite for now. But even so, I don't really use them. And the reason why is pretty simple. Besides their limited use case, it all comes down to what we actually use to craft them, and that is shelf shards. So, most enemies in this game, they drop shelf shards. They either drop that or rosaries. Well, the thing that you have with rosaries is they're pretty farmable. Not every enemy drops them, and it's pretty much pilgrims that only drop them. But you can pretty much find a few good farming spots and farm them. You can also see them on my inventory. I literally have been farming rosaries for like quite a bit, and now I have over 2000 rosaries just at my disposal. But then you think like, yeah, you have 700 shards, and that, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds quite a lot. But the problem comes that like most enemies they drop only a few shards. And with a few shards I literally mean like most enemies they drop 4 to 5 shards. Um to what I like noticed. Even if you use the what is it? The shard pendant, I don't really feel that it um really increases all that much. It also is not sucked up by the magnet brooch. So shell shards are pretty missable, while rosaries they can be auto collected. That doesn't happen with shards. But the thing that you also have is like most tools, they have like different cases on how you use them. So like I believe the straight pin that is like 3 shards you get for every pin you use. So that is like if you fully use them, that is like 63 shards that you already get for that. And like for the cockflies, if I use all of them, I pay like 75. That's like the two that I know by heart. But every tool has like a little bit his own cost. That is kind of useful, that it's kind of logic, that like the stronger tools they cost more to craft. Okay, nice. But the problem for me for that is like most tools I don't really find all that useful. The straight pin can be useful, but it's yeah very limited in my opinion. The threefold pin I find a little downgrade from like the straight pin. The sting shards, I literally never really used it. It's just like a floating mine, and you just need to get a little bit lucky that flying enemies fly into it. Then, of course, the caltrops or the tax, they're pretty much my third favorite at the moment. Because like land enemies, they can kind of get stuck into it. And the rest that I have so far is like pretty situational. This is a little bit like the straight pin, but it goes like more in an arc. This is like a boomerang. And then like my two favorites, the cockwork wheel and the cockfly, they're actually, in my opinion, the most useful because like the cockfly, they stick around for a little while, and the cockwork wheel, they like seek their way across the edges of a platform. So they might like maybe this is not the best zone, but like if there's like an enemy here and you throw out the cogwheel, they might like go up here and hit that enemy anyway. So it's not that tools are not useful, but like I said, the main problem that I have is literally with the shards that we farm. Like I said, you can for rosaries you can pretty much find a farming spot, uh, at least until Act 3. I believe you can farm like the big enemies in the city all the way up here. Like in this big hallway over here. I think you find like four or five big enemies here, and every enemy drops like a 32, I believe, rosaries. So if you like multiply that, it's quite a bit, huh? So it's easy to like farm those. There is also a bench here. There is a bench here, not too far. They're like all over this long corridor here. So it is very easy and fast to actually farm rosaries. But with shards, like I said, most enemies they drop four or five shards. And like most tools, like already the straight pin, costs three. So like if you kill like one enemy and he drops like five shards, you get like back one pin. But you can like spam 21 pins in one fight. And that is mainly the problem, you know? I really feel that the shards farming is really off. And yes, it is true that like you can technically buy those shard bundles eventually for like 50 rosaries, and they contain like an 80 shells. And that is nice, obviously, but like do we always wanna need to like farm rosaries to then like buy onto shards to then like go into a boss fight, you know? And that is mainly the problem. Tools are pretty handy for like the open world, where you like occasionally use one or two and then like pretty much get the cost of that thing back. Uh, but like especially if you're stuck on a boss and you have something like, oh, I'm gonna like try this tool on the boss a few times and that didn't work, and then oh, I might try my cockflies and yeah, that worked better, but I'm not totally satisfied, so I might try to combine my two tools with like the tax and the cockflies. You also have like the quests that have like three tools. So you have a lot of nice combinations, but the problem really sticks always with the cost. Like, especially if you do like a few runs in a boss fight, you easily lose like almost if you use like two tools and you use it fully up, you almost like pretty much loses like 100 to 150 shards for every run. And like you see you have like 700, so like you don't have that much tries before you run low on shards. And just like I said, you can technically farm them up a little bit. It's not that you can totally not farm them, but that is mainly the reason why I'm not all that much into tools. Because if we look at the rest of our arsenal, like if we like, for example, look at our silk abilities, we literally get silk by hitting enemies. And although some of them have like a pretty high cost, you get a pretty nice silk bar. You see, I'm like pretty much at half my silk bar. I already found a few upgrades, so that is really nice. We also get the auto silk recovery. I'm currently still at one, but like it seems that we can have up to three silk that we recover. We recover one silk every time we hit an enemy. Um, yeah, like I said, silk abilities, they're much more spammable. They're much more reliable. Like if you're stuck on a boss, you can pretty much always use a silk ability. You know, you can use this silk ability, didn't that work? You go to another silk ability. And you will never run low on silk because you literally get silk from fighting. That is totally different from like shards because like most bosses in this game, they don't really drop a reward. Like yeah, sure, they might drop a tool or they might drop a charm or something like that. But most of the bosses, they don't really drop all too much. They don't drop any rosaries, they don't drop any shards. So like besides the satisfaction of beating a boss, you don't really have anything for it. And that is the main problem that like tools have over silk abilities for me at least. That is like okay, cool, but this is like reliable. I can always use the silk ability. Well, if I run out of shards to craft my tools, then I need to farm shards, but most enemies they drop only a couple of shards, like four or five, maybe a little more sometimes, but nothing satisfying to really justify the cost they have. And that is like a pity because like I recently got the architect quest, uh, and that like says that like I can now craft tools even not at a bench. So normally you have to be at a bench to like restock your tools. Now I can do that pretty much anywhere in the field by holding up and pressing circle. So that pretty much sounds very nice, eh? Like, oh, you're out exploring, you run out of tools, and you have something like, oh man, I need a bench, but there is no bench, and I want my tools back. I can now do that on the field. Okay, that is nice. And also you get the crafting kits that like increases tool damage. And like I said, the damage from tools, especially after a few upgrades, is pretty respectable. Like I said, for some hard fights, for some like occasions, I really use tools. But that is the pity thing that like tools are such a very big part of this game, and I just don't feel like using them because I always have something like if I use them now, then I might like what is it? Then I might like um low run low on shards, sorry for that. But then I might like run low on shards, and then like if I need them, I don't have them. And that is really something that I hope that they fix. I really hope that they like significantly increase the shards that enemies drop. Not like late game, but already from the early game, because it is such a pity, you know. Like I'm sure that like many of those tools, and I by far have not all of them. Um, but I really think that many of those tools they're really good and they really have a purpose and they can make some fights like significantly easier. Like I remember, for example, for the I used attacks in like a small zone where I had to beat two enemies, and it was like pretty hard. But I found like a little ledge that the enemy was stuck on. Well, I literally threw some like tags there or some caltrops, like I'll call them. And the enemy just pretty much died in front of my eyes by standing in the caltrops for a little bit. Or like I had this like rough gauntlet all the way over here, where we need to learn a song, like right over here. I had to fight like two big brown enemies, and I like combined my cockflies together with my wheel, and then the polo pouch that like potions your tools, and like they pretty much did scratch those two enemies for me. So even that was really nice. And at moments like that, I really think like, man, I really wish that I could use those tools more, that I can like experiment with them more, that I can like use them more, that I can try them out more, whatever you wanna call it. But then on the other side, I'm really like, if I use them now, then I might not be able to use them later because those shards, you can barely farm them. And that is the reason that I'm not all too much in tools and that I mostly like trust on my needle or that I trust on like different what is it, different quests or that I like trust on silk abilities because I just feel that they're more reliable and if I like want to use them or I want to like experiment with them, it feels less punishing for like using them. And with tools, it feels like, although they're satisfying and although I use them from time to time, it's always like, okay, cool, I use them. But then if I go back to the bench and I like used all my flies and I already see like 75 shards going off my total value, while I know that the enemies below me drop like 4 or 5 shards, then I have something like, oof, I need to like kill like, what is it, more than 10 of them to get it back. And that is the main reason I'm not that much into tools. That is like the main reason. I really hope that they fix the tools. Personally, I think one way that they could fix it is like by reducing all the cost. Like this is like three, this is like 4 or 5. I believe this is also four or something. Shards you need. So like instead of like having like a higher cost, I would really want them to like reduce all the cost from all the tools to one. So in that case, you would have like a cost of 21 for this, 17 for this, 10 for this, 14 for this, or maybe the better tools like this, that they maybe keep the higher cost, but like especially like basic tools like this or that. Um, this maybe, like I said, I don't have all tools, so I cannot speak for every tool. But I think that like if they would reduce the cost to one to like the basic tools, I really feel that like me and I'm pretty sure other people will very much more likely to use them. Because like let's say that you use those straight pins and you have a cost of 21 to like replenish them. Okay, that is like still quite a bit. But then if enemies drop like, I don't know, 4 or 5 shards for every kill you do, then that's not really like an issue, you know? Then you need to like kill 4 or 5 enemies and you have your shards back. And I already hear like, yeah, wouldn't you like then like abuse tools too much? Yeah, that is maybe the risk that then like happens. But like now I feel that we're on the risk on like not using the tools because they're borderline expensive to actually be used. So that's what I hope that they reduce the cost or that they just increase the shards that enemies drop. Um, yeah, or like that is like that you find more shards bundles or something. Um, because like the only pity that I really have with this game is like you have all those mechanics, but like sometimes it's not really satisfying, you know? Sometimes you like go somewhere, like you have so many nooks and crannies, like if you see the map, you have like a zone over here, you have a zone there, you have a zone over here, and that's like only the starting area. Like you have so many hidden paths, hidden zones, all over their maps. And like most of the times what you find is either like shards or like um rosaries. So that is like not always satisfying to find those things. And if you then like find something useful, if you then like find mostly a tool, because you see I only have 2 silk abilities and I have like 9 tools. If you then like find a tool, then you think like, cool, nice, I want to use this. But then like I feel that the cost is really stopping you from it. Um, but that are just my thoughts on it. Like I said, tools can be good. They can really help you out in a pinch. I just wish that they were a little more into the game without the cost of it. That's why I think that the tools are maybe a little downside from like the charms from Hollow Knight. Because like those charms didn't only like make exploration a lot more rewarding in my opinion. They also, yeah, were much more reliable. They had so many useful effects, and I feel that many of the tools are actually missing that. Like I said, I have like 9 tools, and like I only like 3 of them. So like 2/3 of the tools that I currently have, I am not interested to use, at least not at the cost they have, and that is, yeah, that is just a pity for me. Um, but let me know what you think. Are you into tools? Do you use them often? Do you use them all the time? Is it something that you more likely like use for like boss fights or like for hard moments that you encounter into the game, or don't you bother with them at all? Um, I don't know. Do you think that tools are better than Silk? Like any thoughts you might have, like let me know like down below, and then maybe we can have a discussion about it, and I can actually maybe learn something, and I hope you learn something from this. And for the rest, I will see you in the next video.